a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Romney Turtola Pier Park, NV Salon, Nail Spa and Barbershop, Tisley Cross Deliciously Smooth Cider, and Digicel, simply more speed, reliability and entertainment. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. It's really special. You've heard about Black Lives That Matters. We want to talk today about how Black love matters. I want to welcome my guests to the set. I always do the first time welcome. It's the first time that you're here and not very familiar faces to me, but your names have been ringing in my ears for quite a while. First, you want to introduce yourselves individually?
My name is Chantel Doswell. I'm a professional clinical therapist and I'm a trauma expert. I'm also a professor at Columbia University, the Columbia University of Social Work. And so for the retreat, I'm the trauma expert.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Dr. Crookshank. I'm a practicing physician here at BVHSA, and I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So for me, my contribution to the Black Love Retreat will be mostly yoga and, along the lines of health and wellness.
Powerful ladies for powerful topics in powerful positions or career, I must say. A tiny lady with a powerful voice. That's you.
that's the MO, yeah.
But before we get into the retreat, because the retreat is what we mainly want to talk about, the retreat that is coming up in February. It's not around the Valentine's season, but it's after, but it's even more valuable so that you know how to spice up 2024. But we hear so much about focusing on a specific ethnicity or color or race, whichever you want to call it, when it comes to certain topics. Yes, we know that everyone in their space is very important to themselves and the community and the circles in which they dwell. If you want to talk to me a little bit about why a focus on the Black Love Circle.
And so there's two big factors in terms of why Black love in particular. One is that Black people across the board from anywhere in the diaspora, we're talking African, Caribbean, American, are less likely to get evidence-based help, which means that even if you go to the doctor, even if you go to a therapist, even if you go to the retreat, it is not likely that the care you're getting is what actually, if you looked up what care you should get for that same stuff, that's usually not what Black people receive. And so I work only with people of color in my practice. And one thing that you see is that relationships can be healing. They can change somebody's whole entire perspective on what the world is like, what they're worth. And they can also change for the negative that same exact thing, right? And so in the Black community, relationships become like this little microcosm of all of the oppression and stress and powerlessness that we feel outside of that relationship. And so we have higher rates of domestic violence, higher rates of non-marriage, higher rates of divorce, right? And a lot of people will live together and be scared to get married because our community is very, very scared of making mistakes because we've seen so much trauma and so much hurt within love. And so I think it's really important to make sure that we talk about those stories generationally, historically, as Black people, because our ability to love is radical, right? It's not given. You have a lot of circumstances that make it easier to protect yourself than to be vulnerable and love somebody. And so this is where we sort of start to go, okay, I get that. I'm a trauma expert. Let's slow this down a little bit so that you can love each other in the ways that are actually going to help you grow, you know?
So you think that this was built into us as a Black people from our ancestral experiences?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, genetically, you inherit both traumatic experiences and resilience, right? Coping. And so the good thing about the Black community is we are really strong in community. We have really good relationships. Statistically, we're much better in terms of showing up for our kids. We're much better at showing up for our family members than almost any other race of people. And yet we complain a lot about it because I think we believe the hype. We believe we're not as good. We believe our families aren't as strong. We believe that our relationships are falling apart. When in reality, some of the people that we're looking to for advice, the strongest people in those areas, are Black, right? So it's like both the strength and the hurt is in the same community, and not coincidentally, right? We've needed each other more than other groups of people have needed each other because we haven't been tops of the food chain for generations and generations. So all that strength we see, that's just us. That's just relationships and love and believing in ourselves and resilience. That's all that is, right? That's not privilege and a given at all.
How does this fit? How do you see this in the circle in which you dwell? You're right here on the ground. You're in a key institution, the BVI Health Services Authority. Tell me about this experience and what you see in that space.
Well, as a physician, right, you're there to serve your community, right? But even within my medical practice, oftentimes there's certain barriers to health, which might be something as simple as communicating with the person and their families, because there are other issues that may affect, your access to taking care of that patient. So what Chantel says is true in terms of some issues that we face as the Black community. But then also in my other area of expertise, which is yoga, which is one of the main reasons Chantel reached out to me, and I'm really glad that she invited me to be a part of the Black Love Retreat, is that what we'll be focusing on is couples yoga, right? It sounds simple, but it requires a lot of focus, commitment, communication, things that Chantel, I'm sure in her practice when she's dealing with her clients, would often stress upon, right? So it will be a therapy, but more in a physical way. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
With
About
couples, you got to be able to connect.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And touch and feel and be present. Yes.
It's that trust.
Yes.
That's why I struggle with letting another person hold or really lean into them. That's not easy.
And two, you have to be able to release, because trust plays a great part. But though you're a couple, you're your own individual. And in a yoga space where you talk about meditation and releasing and relaxing, is that ability now to say, look, I'm going to let myself release and flow into that person, my partner, and you expect the same to happen. How you manage to put a person or persons in that space to become that comfortable to release, let it flow.
I was going to say, I think both of us do meditations, actually. So I lead meditations, Kalisa leads meditations. We're into if you just imagine me doing a meditation for you right now, right? That's how it is. That's this voice with a little calmness in it and a little bit of guidance. But I think the other part of it is that some of it really has to do with your relationship with yourself and with the person who's guiding you, right? So a lot of it has to do with, can you sort of just exist and really move in that space? I love the principles of yoga in part because they overlap so much with what you need to heal from trauma. That's why I really enjoyed that aspect.
Okay. So go ahead.
What I would say is mindfulness. It would be the first step. If we have to do the approach in a stepwise manner, mindfulness. Just being present and aware right in this current moment. How am I feeling? How am I doing? We have to start with that and then build from there, individually and then together as we work with the couples during the retreat.
There is not necessarily such a greater population that truly understands what yoga is. Some see it as a religious ritual, as others see it as different things. You want to give us an idea as exactly really what yoga is?
Well, to be honest, yoga is different things to different people, right? It's the history of yoga is a spiritual practice. But the question I think persons want to say, but maybe they don't know how to phrase it, is that can you separate the spiritual from the physical practice of yoga? And I think if you're mindful enough and if you study yoga enough and you do your research, you can practice in a safe way without going into the spiritual part, which persons who are of other beliefs will practice as is a part of their religion. Yes.
Okay. So what aspect you really focus on?
So my practice is an asana. Asana means posture, right? So it's mostly a posture practice. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that clarity.
I know, I was like,
Never heard of the spiritual part of it, no?
The spiritual part, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of really old, thousands of years old practices are becoming really popular in Western culture now. But if you go to India and you talk about breathing practices or yoga, for them it's like, it's not even that deep, you know? Like for us, we're namaste, all of that. Ooh, let me get deep, you know. But for them, they're wearing regular sweatpants and loose shirts and just doing stretches in the morning because that helps in the morning. Breathing in the morning because it helps you wake up when you breathe that way, right? Like functional medicine, right? Like functional yoga is very different than spiritual Buddhism.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you brought the word out there, Buddhism, because most people that I would have interacted with that does not like necessarily embrace yoga link it to that religion, and I'm hoping that this is with some clarity as you would have given persons become a little bit more open.
Right.
What are the connections between yoga and meditation, if there is a connection in any way?
Well, how do I answer this?
I'm not putting you on the spot.
You can practice yoga without meditating.
Okay.
It is possible. Meditation is its own practice, and there are different types, right? And the meditation itself is not necessarily attached to yoga only.
Okay.
You can meditate in all types of different religious practices, or even in non-religious. Because to meditate, it means just to be aware.
Yeah.
Right. So, like for example, you might get up in the morning and you may stop and think, okay, what am I gonna do today? You're actually meditating. You're actually taking time to be present in that time. That being said, there are different ways in which persons meditate. Some persons use chants. Persons may use different herbs or like stimulants to get into a certain mindset.
Realm and
No, that's on the opposite side. But like I said, meditation can be any one of those things. With regards to yoga, most times you can combine your yoga practice with a meditation class, but you can also separate the two as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we had that discourse so that we could come into the meat of the matter with a great understanding of why. Why are we going in this direction of having a couple, not just any couple, but a black couples retreat? Tell me all about it.
Well, first of all, my family is from the BVI, so there's a big part of me that doesn't love the idea of everybody running to countries where there are not black people in the Caribbean to go do all these healing practices when it's like, we're right here. This is a beautiful place to come heal. This is a beautiful place to come be. And I think The secondary part of it is that because my family has been here, it's also really important to me that some of the things that I've seen my family struggle through, as successful as they might be on the one hand, right? That internally and emotionally, there have been things that we could not control about the way things go on this little small island, and then once we leave over in DC or in New York City, that you are just a black body moving through a lot of things you can't control,
Yeah.
right? And so I think in that vein, especially after pandemic,
Oh, and Irma.
and Irma, she, her, that one, yes, that people were hurting and distrustful and disconnected and longing for connection, but kind of unable to trust it or kind of stay in it and kind of deepen it. And so I'm working with all of these people, telling them the same thing over and over and over and over. And then I'm also going myself to these outside practices that aren't just therapy, right? And I'm like, if I really want people to have their relationship get better, this is not going to happen with me in this room like this, in this one way, right? Why not try to give what's equivalent to really, dozens of hours of therapy, because I'm going to have a couples therapist that's there with me. It's going to be me, and then we're also going to have a yoga instructor with us, right? So everything we do is meant to be holistic. It's meant to be centered on what works for black people and black couples, right? And especially after all of the trauma that we've gone through recently and historically.
What we would have heard subsequent to, during the pandemic, also right after the hurricanes of 2017, that there has been a constant rise in domestic violence.
Yes.
Things happening between husband and wife and boyfriend and girlfriend, all because they're now, especially during the COVID period, they're now forced to stay in a place in one room for extended hours, and these coming on the heels of that with a retreat of this nature, bangs.
But that's why we need the physical too, because
Yeah.
as much as it might seem in here, right, like it's your thoughts, you need to think differently.
Yes.
Your body changes how you think. So most of us notice if you feel really calm, you're not thinking much really, right? You present.
Yes.
We're here, I'm calm. Right, that's why yoga's amazing, because you're here.
And then also, as you highlighted, Kathy, the issues with, Irma Maria is like we have been in a state of chronic stress for like almost 5 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This chronic is like this thing that it just always kind of, it's like as soon as one thing happens, the
Next thing comes,
Right,
no
so-
time to release
and then
get back.
persons don't even realize that they're stressed out.
No.
Because everybody reacts to stress differently. You understand? For some persons, like for me, when I'm stressed out, I might get a headache. Some persons may oversleep, some overeat. Some persons take out their stress on other people. Not taking time to try to understand why am I, what's the driving force?
Right, what's the
behind-
effect of all of this stress that's
Where
actually
is it
going
coming
on?
from? Yeah.
And do you think that we have enough mechanisms, enough institutions, bodies to effectively deal with those in this space?
We do. I personally believe that we do. We have lots of persons in our community that do have the skill set to help persons, but persons first have to realize that
There's
they
something
actually
wrong.
Yeah, that there's something not
All
right.
right, we're helping them to realize because you're calling them out to this black couples retreat. Yes. If you ain't get no other avenue, you're doing it on this one, right? And we'll deal with the others as you come along. So, tell us where, when.
So we are going to be doing this on Tortola in the BVI at Lambert Bay Resort. So that's a beachside resort. Everything, your meals, the yoga, a yacht party, tantric yoga.
Yeah.
It's all included in that. And the website is theblackloveretreat.com. Tickets are still on sale. And so spots are limited.
Okay.
So try to go ahead and get there.
Okay.
But yes, that those are the big details of when it will be happening. And so in February 22nd through the 26th, we'll be in Tortola. 22nd.
Second.
Yeah,
Okay.
222.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
we will be here, and it will be a 5-day experience at Lambert Bay. We'll go off property for a couple of hikes, up to some meditation with Kalisa.
Oh, so we're kind of camping in.
Now,
Oh.
we're doing it how black people would prefer, which is
Okay.
that you get a nice full suite and a cabana with nice air conditioning and all the good amenities. And if you want to in the morning wake up and go outside by the beach and go to a peaceful place and do meditation,
That's fine.
That's an
So
option
what
for
I
you.
meant
Yep.
is we're not coming during the day, go home in the night to come back.
No, we're staying on property.
We're staying on
Unless
property.
for some reason you want to run away in the night, I can't. You're a grown
A grown
person. That's your
person.
business. That's your business. But we will be there for 5 days, and I will be there for 5 days on site. So in case somebody in the middle of the night is having a breakdown,
Yeah,
There I am. Yep.
Is still there. Okay. Are we having external facilitators coming in along with this, or the pool of facilitators are right from here?
so obviously Kalisa's our local, the most
It's
local
okay.
instructor,
Okay.
and she has a yoga practice that's on the island that you can go to right now if you'd like to
Yeah.
experience some yoga. And then the male therapist that I'll be working with is from New York City.
Okay.
He's the only black male certified Gottman therapist, which is like a research institute in New York City. He's the only one.
Wow.
And he's Haitian, right? So he's actually Caribbean himself. So he will be coming down to join us as an expert and as a couples therapist. I'll be there as the trauma expert. And then we'll also have somebody hosting our game, who's a comedian and actress.
Oh, keep the laugh going.
Yep, just to make sure it doesn't get too heavy or too dark in any direction.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. Okay, what's the price for the tickets?
So the total price is, if you pay all at once, it's just $4,200.
Okay.
If you pay over time, because you can break it up into a payment
Payment,
plan,
yes.
it's $45.99.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. This is something that the dollars really do make, can't match what you're going to get, the product that you're going to
Yeah.
receive,
Yes.
especially in this time and spaces that we're going through. So as we wrap up, each of you, the camera is yours for 15 seconds each.
Kalisa, you want to start?
Oh, no,
Go ahead. I was like, I got to think.
So join us at the first. This is the first.
The first ever.
The first ever Black Love Retreat here in the Virgin Islands. Myself, Chantel, our team of specialists, as we help you rediscover love, community, and happiness.
Yes.
And I would love it if you could come experience something that you'll probably never experience outside of here if you don't sign up. We're talking about healing, your partner understanding how to heal with you, how you work, your trauma history, your family history that feeds into how you show up. All of this stuff is going to help you have better sex, have a better relationship, parent your children better, regulate yourself better at work, right? There's no downside. And this much therapy would cost you upwards of $8,000. Like, not even an exaggeration. So if you want to spend half that and take a vacation,
Yes.
Do it. at
Do
home.
it.
Take a staycation. And I love the order in which you put it, because just last night I was running through Facebook, and then there was a comment, a thread that was asking, how would you, what order would you put these things? You had sex, you had loyalty, you had communication, but you called sex first. Time for another conversation in another space.
We'll talk about that in the retreat, right?
On the retreat.
Yeah.
So you gotta be there to get it on it. Matt, you heard it here. So make sure that you register so you could go and put the order that you so look for on social media. Get your partner along. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for coming and
Thank
sharing
you.
great
Welcome.
information. Thank you for bringing this to the Virgin Islands, where people do need it. I'm happy to know that you're making it affordable. Yeah, there's some people who may not be able to, but you can't take everybody in a one go.
And the hope is we'll be back, is that we will do this again. Yes.
And even if you don't have a retreat of that nature, you can have a summit, you can have, a round table talk, a conference, so many different things that we could do to help our people. We do need that help.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the initiative, and thank you for being here on The Big Story, and I'm thanking you for taking time out to listen to us here, and hoping that you join on this very special retreat. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Richards.
know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.